Hey guys, this is gamingwithtape, and today you join me for another episode of Subscriber Designs. Just the normal one, no fighter jet showdowning today, but the first thing we're looking at is, can you guess? Yes, it's the obligatory VTOL. This one comes to me from Nope.x. Okay, that's a cool name, alright. But yeah, it's apparently, it's called First VTOL, so I'm assuming it's the first VTOL he made. But yeah, it uses Panther afterburning turbojets to VTOL and move forward. So let's go! I don't know the controls, as usual. That's all of the engines. Oh, these are clipped into each other. So these are the afterburning engines. And there's actually 4 of them in there. I thought there were 2, but there's a little... Oh, shit! Okay, we're okay. Accidentally turned the engines off. Is there an afterburner control? That's brakes. I don't think there is an afterburner control. Probably could have done it with just 2, but with afterburners. But I guess you went for 4 non-afterburning turbojets. Doesn't matter. I feel like I fucked something up. It took off a little less nipply that time. Doesn't matter. Alright, this one turns on these ones, which are using afterburners. Complicated. Maybe you don't want afterburners firing down. Maybe it looks wrong. I don't know. But obviously the goal of this is to land it on the VAB, as per usual. Last episode, I basically landed an Su-37, not VTOL, on... maybe it was Su-35. Anyway, yeah, I landed. Well, I kind of landed it on the VAB, and then it sort of fell off because you know it's not a VTOL, and it was kind of a short runway. But that was pretty awesome. So I better stick this landing, lest lest I ruin my brilliant, just kind of flawless record of landing on the VAB. Because I think if you've watched this, you'll know that I nail it perfectly every time. I'm just great at this. I'm actually not. Yeah. Alright, it also has RCS, which I guess makes it slightly more maneuverable. But it's clearly not a space fighter. Oh my god, wow, we've overrun a little bit. Throttle up. Oh, some afterburners would be nice right now. Oh, we're gonna nail it, we're gonna do it. Ooh, here. So, my VTOL noises, of course. Very important for VTOLing that you come up with a weird set of noises, and nailed it! Perfect landing. Okay, keep going, we're okay, we're not gonna crash. Well, he is dead. Anyway, I kind of fucked that one up quite bad. Not the most controllable, but also not bad enough to justify that level of failure. So, thank you to Nope.x. Sorry I crashed your VTOL. Yeah, it's kind of dead. Let's move on to the next thing. So, what we're looking at next is called the C-45B Catherine, sent to me by Rockets Don't Make Good Toast. I feature a lot of things by Rockets Don't Make Good Toast, but there's a lot of interesting stuff. And yeah, this is apparently a proof of concept, and what it is sort of a gun. Because these are, well, dumbfire projectiles, which don't fire themselves. They use the propulsion from what looks like one engine, but there's actually 16 engines here, and then there's 16 back here to kind of balance it out. And yeah, so it's actually, yeah, a little gun. So I'll demonstrate how this works, because I have played with it already. You click space, and then you switch back to the vessel, and now you have a rotatable little gun. So you've got a little rotatable barrel. It does gyroscope like crazy and move the vehicle around, but yeah, generally pretty good. And then what you do is fire up the engines. So the firing mechanism is all ready. You drop one of these little bullets. It rolls into place, like so. You wait for it to balance, and then you hit Z, throttle up to maximum, and it hauls a little thing over there. That's pretty cool. It's got a bunch of nice little details. I mean, I like how the battery looks. That's pretty cool. Obviously, the not hinge, swivel, I guess is. I don't know. Why can't I think of what that would be? Yeah, the swivel's pretty nice, but also like there's 16 engines here, but they've been rotated at certain angles, so there's not just one of these pipes. There's 16, so it's just little details like that are really nice. But yeah, so this is pretty cool. You can just fire off all 6 rounds, totally stock, pretty good weapon system. I'm thinking we find ourselves a target and we try and shoot it. I'm gonna revert to launch so that I have all 6 missiles. And then we're going to just maybe pull out... I think I built a big wall before that I've shot. So yeah, we're going to pull that out again, but I imagine I've deleted it. Fuck. Right, there's got to be something in here that's big enough to... Yeah, we'll just bring out the steerwig. We're going to shoot a plane? Yeah, that seems legit. Place that there. Vessel mover, of course, one of the most useful mods in the world. Right, so we've got a cargo plane. And we don't like this cargo plane. It's hauling bad cargo. It's a drug plane? Do drug dealers have planes? I kind of don't think so. It doesn't turn super well. I guess the main thing, right, is the firing mechanism more than the car. Yeah, you kind of... Sometimes this turns it that way. Sometimes not so much. So yeah, I'm just gonna drive it over. There we go, driving it over. This is how to drive. That's useful. That's a good driving system. Yeah, well, it is a proof concept, so the car's not really worked on. But yeah, alright, so we'll lock everything in. We'll do that. We'll do this. We'll do... That's looking good. I'm going to line it up a little more with the center for the main engine. We might need to get a little closer, but that'll be fine. Oh, hey, oh, sail. Why do you rock back? It wasn't doing that before. Oh, shit. See, now it stays there. It doesn't want to point slightly off forward. Might be a wheel thing. Yeah. That's looking fine. It's rocking a little bit, but it'll be fine. Alright, so let's drop one of these in. Wait for it to line up perfectly. Or near enough. Because that's the tape motto, as long as it's near enough. And then fire! Yeah, little short, yeah. It has the engines on the front and the back, so it doesn't get hauled back every time it fires a bullet, which is pretty cool. Right, oh shit, yeah. Yeah, you keep those brakes on. We need to drive forward with this bit. Not sure how well this is going to go. Not bad. It seems to not be crashing, so that's good. Oh, it's bucking around a little bit, though. Can't vessel mover it now, though, because it's in two parts, and I don't think it redocks. Alright, so this should be better, hopefully. Quick save here. Alright, let's get a good shot in. Let's get lined up, get fairly stationary. So we drop this, and then boom! Ooh, that was close. That was really close. Alright, let's go a tiny bit closer. Oh shit, yeah, no, you need to do that. And then this bit drives. There we go. Just that much closer. Alright. That's the nice thing about having 6 rounds. I like that it has a magazine. It's just kind of inventive for, you know, KSP, because usually if you're thinking stock weapons, you're thinking, yeah, put some Sapatrons on a thing, make a missile, but this is like, no, this is a gun. Oh, that one was short. Let's try again like this. I reckon this should do it. Come on! Ooh, that was really close. We're going to go a little closer again. Keep needing to switch. There we go. Alright, I'm going to get real close. Then we're going to fire a gun. Don't know why I'm talking northern, but I frequently do that for some reason. Oh, shit. Okay. I guess my mother's northern, so maybe that's why. So... Oh, I hit it, though. I think I did hit it. Alright. Small nose couldn't crash into train. Nah. Seems like it hit the terrain. Right, let's see it from above. Let's get a better view of this. Right. There we go. Oh, it totally hit the plane. Didn't really do any damage because it's a freaking plane. But that's pretty cool. I'm not going to spend too much more time looking at it. But thank you to Rockets Make Good Toast. That's a really cool little thing. I know it's just like a proof of concept. But I thought it was interesting, you know? Anyway, let's look at the next thing. So the next thing we're looking at is the Hexawing Mark III, sent to me by Exploding Tortoise. And what this is a space plane mounted on top of a solid rocket booster trolley, which carries it up to a certain altitude and gets it up to a pretty decent speed, detaches it, and then the plane carries on into orbit. Now it's very important that I don't call this an SSTO, because I called the two-stage plane last time an SSTO, and everyone in the comments was like, Tape, you're a moron. And I was like, yeah, I know, I'm sorry. But no, this is really cool. I love this kind of sort of two-stage space plane kind of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to throttle up kind of pointlessly. And of course this is post-commentary because this is a space thing which takes a little longer. And also maybe the commentary I did do for this was kind of incoherent. So yeah. Anyway, so we rocket down the runway with a solid rocket booster. Getting up to speed, and because it's the big one, it will carry on for a while. I'm actually not sure. It may have had its thrust nipped back a bit, but yeah. Anyway, so then it pretty much can only take off at the end of the runway because the wheel placement's kind of jank. But yeah, it's pretty good. So we take off, tuck away those gear, and then start heading up to a, well, a pretty decent altitude. basically where I can kind of balance the speed so it just kind of stays at around supersonic but also gains altitude. Now we're going to go into 4 times time accelerate just because it makes it a little quicker because space stuff takes a while. Now there we ditched that at about 4 kilometers going almost 300 meters per second. Fire up the engines, which there are a lot of. These are actually clipped into each other. A lot of engine clipping today. Something explodes just there, but it was just a solar panel, so it's fine. Now we're going to slow down a bit because this happens very quickly. It gets up to a ridiculous velocity. It's going almost 1600 meters per second on just the jet engines because they're kind of clipped in together and there's so many. So we're actually almost on a, we're almost on an orbital trajectory. Then I fire up the rocket, the liquid fuel oxidizer engines, which is a massive mistake because it was already on a good trajectory and I burned off way too much fuel doing that, which means it won't get into orbit. So I'm sorry, Exploding Tortoise, but foolishly, I fired up the engines before I was in space, where it probably would have been able to push on into orbit, but yeah. So we're going to bring it back anyway, see how it re-enters. It is an orbital vehicle, I believe, but I kind of fucked up. And you can see it's got a docking port on it and stuff, so I guess the idea is that it kind of goes into orbit and then docks to something. And I mean, it wouldn't cost much more than an SSTO anyway, because solid rocket boosters are pretty cheap. Throw a couple of parachutes on there, reusable. But yeah, pretty cool. If you actually get a look at the bottom, which you did just now, you can actually see it's got a bunch of radiators for, I guess, when it gets up to that kind of speed. You could see when it was going 1500 meters per second, everything was heating up, and one of the solar panels blew off. But yeah, so I do try and get into orbit, have a little control issues, which also fucks up the Delta V thing. But then, yeah, we push on right there. I also should have gone more straight in the atmosphere. I flew this terribly. I feel bad when someone sends me a really cool vehicle and I kind of fuck it up. But hey, it's still, yeah, pretty decent. And we're going to bring it back, see how it does, see if it can re-enter and land and things. Although not land, we're probably going to land it in the ocean. But we'll go into 4 times time accelerate for this, just because, you know, it takes a while to re-enter. It won't take quite as long now because we're going down quite steeply. It survives re-entry pretty well because it's made to go faster than re-entry, really, because of how it gets into orbit. Bucks around quite a lot, gets sort of unstable, but I do manage to get it back after a lot of RCSing. And then instead of landing it on the water, like I was planning to do, I get a great idea. I gain control of the craft, I point it this way for some reason, and I want to see how fast can this go in the low atmosphere. So we get into a good place. We'll watch this at 1 times time accelerate and see how fast we can get this going in the lower atmosphere. We're already up to about 600 meters per second there, 700 meters per second without breaking a sweat, 800, 900, 1 kilometer per second below 5 kilometers in the atmosphere, 1100 meters per second, 1200 meters per second. This should really test that cooling system. That's 1300. That's 1400. It's starting to really heat up. It's getting up to 1500. It can go as fast in the low atmosphere as it can in the high atmosphere. It's about to explode even with all those radiators. We're actually gaining altitude now. But then the head blows off. It goes a little faster before it all detonates. But yes, I thought that was really cool. So it definitely did live up to the name of the creator, Exploding Tortoise. And I do really like this. I know I kind of failed, but I just love the raw power of this. It is just, it doesn't have a ton of fuel. It just goes so fast that it doesn't even matter. So thank you to Exploding Tortoise. I thought that was really cool. So, the final thing we're looking at today is an X-37B sent to me by Max, and this is another space one, so yeah, it's a bit of post-commentary. But yeah, the X-37B, it's actually been in the news kind of ish recently because it was performing its, I believe, 5th mission? Or maybe a test mission, I'm actually not sure, but it ended up landing on a runway right near a model space shuttle, which is pretty cool because it's kind of almost like a space shuttle in a way. It launches aboard a rocket on top of a rocket instead of strapped to the side of it, as you can see here, usually on an Atlas V. It is unmanned, but it is effectively a space plane, and it glides back to Earth. And yeah, so it was pretty cool to see it landing next to the space shuttle. The X-37B is operated by the US Air Force. I believe there's also a NASA and DARPA version, but I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on X-37Bs. Whenever I hear about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that exists. Anyway, so yeah, this is pretty cool. Gets into orbit SSTO-ish with the rocket booster. However, the staging isn't quite right because when I decouple it, there's a bit of an explosion, and what happened was it was deployed inside the fairing. So, pretty cool vehicle so far, but you gotta watch your staging, man. Check your staging, because sort of exploded. I go and find what happened. And yeah, I find an empty fairing where it must have exploded. So I guess we'll launch it again, but I'm not going to fly it again. I'm just going to hyper-edit it into orbit, or with the, well, now there's a stock hyper-edit, which makes things really easy. So we'll just put it into an orbit, get told that that's not safe, try and remember how the semi-major axis relates to things. And anyway, now we're in space again. Got ourselves a good orbit from perfect flying, of course. And yeah, now we're just going to manually do all of the staging, probably, because don't want to blow it up again. So we deploy that, and you can see the X-37B. Now, in real life, it's a bit of a almost a fat-looking vehicle, but because of the limitations of KSP, this is more of a thin-looking thing. I accidentally did put a Kerbal in it. In the email, it said that it has a capsule on it just because it looks the best, but I accidentally did put a Kerbal in it, so it's not super accurate representation in this flight. But yeah, it's pretty good. The tailplanes really do look kind of like the jutted out, kind of long, thin ones that the X-37 has, and the wings match up pretty well, actually. The engine is my favorite bit. It's a monopropellant engine tucked into a Juno engine, which makes it look really cool, and also means it can fly in atmosphere and space. It also has a little booster behind it, because apparently it can get into a geosynchronous orbit, which, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm not going to take it to a geosynchronous orbit. I just thought I'd test out all the engines and things, just because, you know, time and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty decent. It's also got a science payload on it. It's got what apparently is a camera bay and a something else bay, because it is operated by the US Air Force, so it's pretty easy to imagine that it would indeed. Oh, it has a couple of air intakes here, because, you know, it is a plane. It can fly in atmosphere with its engine, which the X-37B actually can do in real life. But yeah, no, it is operated by the US Air Force, so it would be conceivable to imagine that it would deploy spy-type satellites. So we've got kind of a makeshift camera in here, which is pretty cool, made of a light and things. So yeah, it's pretty nice, actually. I do quite like it. It just because it's thinner, it doesn't look quite like the real one, but I think as close as you could get in KSP. So thank you to Max for that. Now we're going to bring it back, see if I can fly it back well. Hopefully land on the right runway and not next to a space shuttle. Although, was that the right runway? I just saw it in the news recently, and I don't know much about that story, but I just remember the image of it landing next to a space shuttle, which looked really cool. So yeah, now it'll re-enter and hopefully not explode, as some space planes do. As some space planes do. I forget to pull up at a 45-degree angle for a while, but we do that in the end and bring it back. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It does have the air-breathing engine, of course, so if I do undershoot, I can fly back. The space shuttle itself was actually originally planned to have a couple of air-breathing engines on it so that it could fly back if it needed to. And you can see I'm just firing up both engines now to try and get myself some control. It's bucking around a lot, so I'm going to start disabling some of these control surfaces and put it into one-time time accelerator at some point so it looks a little less crazy. And there wasn't an explosion, but that was just a strut that was within the engine. But yeah, no, the space shuttle was originally planned to have air-breathing engines, but they scrapped that for, I've forgotten the reason actually. But basically the US Air Force did request that it had the bigger wings. The space shuttle was initially going to have much smaller wings, but the US Air Force, well, I think just the Department of Defense required that it had a 1,000-mile cross range, so it wouldn't possibly land in another country or something like that. So it could always land where it needed to land, because you don't want potentially confidential things falling into the hands of whomever. Anyway, enough talk about the space shuttle. I could fly this all the way back, but it's a little slow, and eventually that monopropellant engine's going to burn out, and we're just going to be stuck with the little Juno, which is decent, but it's a reasonably heavy spacecraft, and it's not really meant for sustained flight. That would just kind of propel it a little further if it needed to. But yeah, I think this is really cool. I really like seeing this, and especially just because it was in the news recently. I was like, oh, that really caught my eye. So thank you to Max, and thank you to everyone who sent me stuff today. It was really cool to see. And if you want to go check out a couple more videos, there's the most recent episode of Road to Colonization. Yes, there's another episode in which we go and save some Kerbals, we have some SSTOs, we do lots of cool stuff. There's also my most recent episode of Prison Architect, in which, well, like, 80 people die and I might go to prison. So go watch that if you want to see me be like, oh no, not prison. Yeah, there's also links to my Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon in the description if you're interested. But as always, I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been KSP with Tape. I will see you next time.